What is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade basketball analysis coming to y'all with that quick analysis. We're going to talk about Kyrie Irving getting traded to the Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks have agreed to acquire Kyrie Irving and Markieff Morris from the Brooklyn Nets for Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, and the unprotected first round pick in the 2029 pick. And the second round picks will be in 2027 and 2029. Irvin is currently set to be an unrestricted free agent this offseason. Irvin and the Nets were unable to agree to a new contract extension, basically. Irvin joined the Nets in 2019 and had a decent career with the Nets. I'm going to talk about that later. Irvin initially requested a departure from the Nets in 2022, but he thought that they can work it out. Unfortunately, they wasn't able to do it. The Nets had some bright spots this season. KD goes down, they fall to fourth. Nobody really looked at the Nets as contenders, unfortunately, because they had defensive problems, they had size problems, and they just didn't have a championship roster compared to Boston and Milwaukee in the East and Denver. I don't think the Mavericks will either. Obviously, you rather have Kyrie Irving over Spencer Dinwiddie. The Nets even proved that before. But Kyrie Irving is more box office. He's a better scorer. He's still going to lack the defensive ability. I don't think that this makes the Mavericks contenders. But I feel like the Mavericks did give up a lot for Kyrie. They felt like this guy possibly can be one of the missing pieces, and it does give them star power. And Luka was a guy that did say, at the end of the day, I need another guy in there to help us. You know, they still do have Christian Wood. They have to figure out what they're going to do with him at the end of the day. I do feel like Kyrie does fit what they're trying to do. Ball handling that can break down the defense, get his own shot, hit the three off the ball. He remind me of a better Jalen Brunson that helped them get to the Western Conference Finals. But when you're losing pieces like a Dinwiddie and a Dorian Finney-Smith, it ain't that much depth that you're losing. You're still going to keep enough shooting on the roster, and you giving up some picks that may not be that great in the future anyway, because the Mavericks tend to be a good team with Kyrie, and the Nets, I don't really know what they're going to do with Kevin Durant and Ben Simmons, as you know, they're under contract for long term, and it's going to be tough to move them because their value at is all-time low. I feel like Kevin Durant coming off the Achilles haven't really proved that he can lead a team to a title, so he'd be more of a complementary piece going to another team to help them be a piece away from winning a title. I do think the Mavericks have gotten better in this trade, getting another guy that's a bucket getter and a guy that's shown that he can still win games on his own. He just showed that it's tough to win with him as one of your best players unless you're a great player like LeBron James, which he wanted to go to LA. He wanted to go to the Clippers, but they got the best deal for themselves. And you gotta look at it from the Nets perspective. You do have to get the best deal for yourself. It's not really about sending Kyrie where he wants to go. Y'all couldn't really agree to an extension. Y'all really couldn't agree to a deal. So we got to get the best pieces back in return so we can trade them off, or we can acquire the talent that we need to get to the objective that we're trying to set for ourselves as an organization. So it makes sense to get Dorian Finney-Smith. He's a tradable guy. Spencer Dinwiddie has always been a good locker room guy, a guy that's going to play hard, and a guy that's going to go out there and compete. And he's been doing that even when Luka been missing games, and I feel like he's been pretty solid. He's a guy that averaged 20 points in the league before. I don't really think the Nets really needed him back because they still have Ben Simmons, and I think they're going in a different direction anyway. But I don't expect Spencer Dinwiddie to be a net for a long period of time. I don't expect Dorian Finney-Smith to be a net for a long period of time. I think they wait this season and they'll be moved. I do feel like it's unfortunate that the Nets had to blow it up, but it had to do it eventually. I don't know what happened internally. It seemed like Kyrie Woman, he was saying we're the best team. Next thing you know, he wants to be traded the next week. They have bipolarness in them where one minute they want to be in and they want to be out. One minute is Steve Nash. Next minute is Sean Marks. Then it's let's blow it up again. I just felt like this team was never good enough. You know, the best chance they had was with James Harden, And even then, just nothing guaranteed. And ever since that season, they only got worse and took step back. And they never was able to get back on that championship path that they really should have tried to be on from day one. I feel like KD and Kyrie was never enough, in my personal opinion, to win a title. They needed more because they wasn't the greatest defenders, and they never could be to build a complete roster around them. Will the Mavericks be the same? Luka's a better facilitator. Luka's a better player right now than Kevin Durant, and they have a pretty good season so far. But I still think the Mavericks need a little bit more if they're going to beat a Denver, or come out the NBA West and try to beat a team like Boston or Milwaukee. I still feel like they're missing pieces too. So I don't really feel like the Mavericks have made a massive move that's going to really push them into championship contention. I do think it makes them better. I do think it solves a lot of their problems that they've been having. And I do think it make Luka happier having a guy like Kyrie around compared to a Dinwiddie or compared to a Jalen Brunson, who they lost basically for nothing and wasn't able to replace him. And I think the Mavericks are really trying to show Luka that we understand where we're coming from. We gave you a max contract. We feel like you're the guy for us. You're the guy for our franchise. You're a guy that can win us a title. We just have to do more of our job, and that's putting a championship roster around you. And I feel like that's a tough thing to do because superstars don't come out of nowhere. They don't fall out of thin air, and they have to be able to fit, and they have to be able to play at a high level with your other star. And I feel like this is a good guy to put with Luka, but will it be enough? I don't think so. I feel like the Mavericks need to make another move if they really want to be a championship contender, and it's got to be a move for defense. They need to get more defenders instead of more offensive players, because Luka already showed you that he can get you to the conference finals with a little bit of help. And I feel like they can still get there with this move, but it's about winning it all. Luka wants to be a champion. And I don't think getting Kyrie Irving increases their chances of being a championship team. It just increases their chance of getting back to the conference finals, which is still going to be disappointing. Luka plays so hard and he wants it so much that it hurts him when he comes up short. It hurts him when he loses. But I do feel like this trade does make sense for both teams. You get a lot of things back if you're the Nets. You get 3 picks, and one of them is pretty decent. And you also get some quality role players that can possibly even get you some more first round picks in the future, or salary cap relief so you can go in a different direction. Now it's about trying to figure out what you're going to do with Kevin Durant. Now it's about trying to figure out what you're going to do with Ben Simmons. They tried to rectify the Kyrie and Kevin Durant that really wanted to play with each other. They gave them the opportunity. They gave them a chance. They tried to build around them. They tried to win with them. They just couldn't get on the same page and stay on it. And unfortunately, they self-combusted. They really couldn't make a decision if they really loved and enjoyed playing with each other. And it really didn't really make sense to keep it together if they wasn't going to compete for championships, which it seemed like they didn't have enough to do, especially after the James Harden trade. So to me, I like the fact that they gave up on it a little early. Now we just have to see if they can win championships with other teams. I feel like going to the Nets was a waste of time because they really didn't achieve anything. They both would have been all stars on other rosters. They both would have been all NBA players on other rosters. But it's about, can you compete at the highest level? And they haven't really been able to do that in the Nets uniform or together. It was a fun, cool idea, but it was, hey, they left championship places going to the finals to go nowhere in Brooklyn. It was a dead end where we literally have to figure out a way to rebuild this roster again around Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, but we just don't have the pieces to do it, and we just don't know how to do it. And if you fire Sean Marks, now you're going in a totally different direction again than where you was going before. It just show you that maybe KD and Kyrie isn't as good as we think they really are as talent. Maybe they just great players. They're just not the championship foundation players that you really need to have intact before you actually make a move to get them. You need multiple pieces and then them to get you to a title. And maybe they're just great players and that's about it. But Luka, he's going to enjoy it. He's going to be happy. He finally getting the progress that's needed to get him to that championship glory. Now they just need another piece defensively that can really get them there. And it seemed like they've been aggressive, this off season that just passed and in the trade deadline to get Luka what he needs to win. And I think that that's important to show him that, yes, you're a super max player. Yes, we hear what you're saying. And yes, we will do what it takes to get it done to show you that we're willing to win with you as our guy. Kyrie is a great number two. Christian Wood is a great number three. And I feel like they can get back to the conference finals, but it's going to be tough to win it all. But this helps their chances. Other than that, Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis signing out.